So, in this session, you guys, I wanted to kind of speak about, a little bit of everything once again. I know I always touch a lot of topics and they kind of explain everything, but that's because spiritual awakening is called spiritual awakening for a reason. You end up exploring your spirituality, your religion, even if you didn't have a religion. You're still going to end up exploring your belief system. Your belief system creates a lot of who you are today. And with your belief system, along with your roots, along with your family, and anything that you do in life, it all affects you and how you live and what cycles you're replaying and what you're learning from life, basically. And when you hit your certain peak in your spiritual awakening, you're going to end up running across religions and other things. One thing I ran across is man versus woman, that's been the biggest problem even before religion started. And why religion started, my opinion, is because man versus woman needed to find some type of balance, right? Some type of equality. And so there was never any equality to begin with, man was always versus woman. There was no nothing until trust got broken. When trust gets broken or something negative gets infected in the person's mind, a person starts veering off on their own way, on their own path. And I'm not talking about just outside of what they put out, like what they show. There's the inside. There's always going to be more than one reasoning or one person to yourself. I know it sounds crazy, like more than one person. Well, yeah, it's what you put in yourself and what you put out, the duality within yourself. And so when one person veers off mentally, they end up creating an illusion for the other person, which veers off the other person into the self-doubt and so on. But back to man versus woman, women has never been treated equally. They've always been looked at, the evil of nature. And so has man, but it's never been presented. Why? Because man created all these laws. And so if you really think about it and you're treating equally on this subject, well, men are also evil of nature too. It's just we're the spirit and we have the muscle and the drive and the strength to wreck shop when it comes to physicalness, war, man duty, strength, power, anything you can think of in that field. Well, we are the evil of nature too. We win the wars, right? We create the battles. We inspire everything that has ever happened in history. And going on the woman's side, which with their nature of evil is being manipulative, not so faithful, wandering, in the mind and the eyes, and they'll act upon that, which creates an unequal balance between any type of spouse in a relationship. And so the spouses end up becoming drifted apart mentally, yet still wanting that inner emotion, even though the inner emotion was still perceived wrong. But they fall back to the same thing that once was known to them. And so as the cycle keeps going forward, yet going backwards, that's like a big battle within men and women. There's always going to be one trying to be better than the other, or one trying to make the other look more worse than the other, but it all still comes down to the same thing. If there was balance or that there was equality, these karmatic situations wouldn't be happening in the first place. So because there's all this justification within opinions that was believed in the mind through your own belief system, which is your roots, your family, your advice, people that had given you advice along the way and taught you to become who you are now. Well, the thinking process that you have within your own mind is only developed off of what was told to you and what was shown to you. And so, with that being said, if they haven't got it down 5,000 years ago, well, nobody's got it down today. And so, until there's some type of equality, which is needed, that free will and that trust and those authentic emotions, then nobody ever really stands a chance within their marriage. And that's why all these laws were created amongst the churches, amongst religion, and everything. So if you're looking into your spiritual awakening, you're still going to run into relationship issues, mental health issues, marriage. It all comes down to the same thing. It doesn't matter if you're single or not. You're going to have some enlightenment on experiences that you went through in the past anyways. And so why I'm talking about the man versus woman thing is because that creates everything that led to a spiritual awakening. If it doesn't have to do with a marriage or a relationship, it still impacts a person through their family, through the way they see their parents or the way their parents interacted. Either way, relationships set a confusion within people's minds, especially families and households and children growing up, as I once was, as you once was. We're all adults now, like wondering why are we acting like this? Why am I not being able to do better for myself? Why do I think like this at the end of the day? Why don't I have these emotions? Well, it's because of what we saw in life and the way we were raised and the way we were treated within the now, within the past, and that's what we call our future. And so we never really give ourselves a chance. We're always in that self-doubt mode. We're always thinking the worst. But what we're really thinking the worst of is in others. Because thinking the worst in others forgets us to think about the worst in us. And so no matter what you look at, there's a duality within it all. Because what we don't understand is we have the power to change that. But why don't we change that is a big question. Well, we all keep living in our roots. We're all taught, a family, that's the happy way. Well, of course it's happy. I have my own family. But then it comes with its own problems. And then you have to figure things out. And a lot of people can't do that. I'm in the same process of doing that. It's a very hard thing. But it still all comes down to the past. And it clearly shows that man and women have been in a battle since day one. Not only within themselves, but what they put out. And so until there's an equality amongst men and women, we will never have peace in this world. Our children will never have peace until a person finds peace within themselves. Then they can start trying to figure out and understand ways on how to raise children, create the children, if they're older children, how to alter them into a different way of thinking. It's a hard thing to do. But the most important thing to do is start. And so to start it, you need to take those baby steps, and those baby steps are recognizing what lies in us. Why are we the way we are? It all comes down to in the brain, like why our mind is the way our mind is. Well, our brain consists of our roots. And what I mean by that is our brain is like our file cabinet. Our file cabinet is there meant to be pulled open and closed when we need to. Everything that we do is in our brains. And a lot of people don't understand that one thing the brain does not have and does not control is decision making. Decision making isn't a control in the brain. We cannot make ourselves decide. But we think we're doing it because we're only reflecting back off of what we know. So a lot of people make our decisions that we do in the world or in life and in any event you have going on for yourself. We make those decisions based off of what we're used to, what we know, what's been taught to us, what we experienced. And if we haven't experienced any of those things, or we don't know where to refer back to it to make those decisions, we end up doing what? Calling a friend, getting advice, jumping online, you name it. Person's trying to figure out what's the best decision to make. And we're always going off of someone else's opinion other than ourselves. The reason why we can't go within ourselves to make that decision is because, well, everything we experience it's always been wrong. Or there's a negative outcome. Or we can't achieve it and we don't understand why. Why are other people achieving it but I can't? That's because of the way the person was raised. Skills differ between all. And so one way to make a decision, you have to understand that it takes free will. It takes that leap of faith, that unknown road of not knowing if you're going to screw up or if you're going to be successful. But the most important thing is you got to try, right? You got to try to figure that out. And until you give it a try, you'll never figure that out. How do you get the courage to do it? So many questions you ask yourselves, right? So let me help you try to help yourself make decisions. Making decisions, well, I like to look at it as if people can create their own dreams and live in their own fantasy, which I'm sure a lot of people do, that y'all know. It's easy, right, to live in a fantasy, create an illusion. Well, it's just as easy the other way around. So what you do is you use your imagination, which involves using your creativeness too. You put those together, and then you start inventing something. You start inventing a thought. When you're inventing your thought, you keep on creating it into a dream. And when that thought becomes your dream, it becomes your want. It becomes your desire. And then as you keep on analyzing and figuring out your desire and how you're going to achieve that and how you're going to build it, well, then you can start working up the encouragement to yourself to want to make that effort. And when you make that effort, you got to understand that there's going to be an unknown outcome. It could be good, it could be bad, but it doesn't matter because at least you're making that effort. And that effort is going to create a will. And when you keep on having that will to want to make it successful, you're going to keep on doing it until you succeed. And when you succeed, that's when you'll finally have that permanent, man, I can do this. And then you can keep repeating it and do it over and over. But it takes that leap of faith. It takes the soul